Hey traders, Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're going to be talking about how to handle losses in the tens of thousands. So obviously the day trading industry, we always like to show the winning trades, all these big winning days. But unfortunately, we don't talk about a lot of the losing days, right? So I think I'm going to put this video also on the website for those of you guys that are watching at the website at daytradingacademy.com. I think that there's obviously an understanding that we can make a lot of money trading, but we should also understand that there's also a big risk that we can lose money, right? Training traders for all of these years, going through the process myself over the years, I think that losing is part of the process, especially for us that are really, really stubborn and don't want to follow the processes that we should. Obviously, and I've talked a lot about this in the videos about how most of us don't really want to deal with the realization of the, let's say, fallacies isn't the right word that I'm looking for, but the drawbacks isn't the right word. I'm thinking in Spanish now. I've been in Latin America so long. Our insecurities, we can say, right? The things that we don't feel comfortable with ourselves about. And when it comes to day trading, those things are going to come out more than anything, because in life, if you're a generally impatient person, you're going to be very impatient in trading, and you have to learn how to be patient, right? Not the easiest thing to do. For those of you guys that love to yell while you drive, I remember those days as well. I haven't driven in a long time. So if you're not disciplined in real life, you're most likely not going to be disciplined in trading, and it's something that you have to learn. So I wanted to specifically do this video to talk to you guys a little bit about the huge losses that I've personally had and how you actually get over that. Trading, and I believe I've mentioned this, I've kind of honed this in over the last few months, it's a performance activity. So just because you make money yesterday, or just because you made money a month ago, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make money tomorrow. Why is that? The markets change. We are going to feel different. We are going to change over time. More importantly, the markets are going to throw different things at us. So it's important to understand that we have to continue to change with the market, but at the end of the day, you can't necessarily do the same thing every single day and expect to win. Why? Because some days the markets are running up really strong, other days the markets are sideways, other days the markets are crashing to the downside. So you have to adapt to what the market is doing. That's one of the reasons why, in my humble opinion, tick charts are some of the best charts, if not the best charts to trade, because it allows us to actually see the behavior of the market, the manipulation, all those things, so we can adapt to what the market is doing. And instead of looking at 8 bars, candlesticks of 60 minutes a day, or 16 bars of I believe it's 20 bars a day, or 48 bars of 10 minutes every day, we can actually see the numbers of transactions, because inside 1 bar of 10 minutes, for example, or even a minute, we might see 1 million transactions, and we can actually see them all. I'm going to tell you guys about not only some of the losses I've had, but obviously some of the traders that I've been trying to fund as well, because obviously you guys know it's a process that I've been trying to do for quite a while now. Some successes, some failures, obviously, along the way. I remember when I was in Rodadero Beach. It's a beach here in Colombia. We're here in the trading center that we have in Medellin. I remember this was during the huge oil, not embargo, but the oil problem that we had in 2011. How the markets just went crazy out of nowhere. And I remember that it was literally a perfect storm. When you day trade, you have to have redundancies, right? So, you have your normal internet, hopefully with a cable, because there's difference in latency. So it's a lot better if you actually trade with a cable instead of Wi-Fi. But if the cable goes out, or the internet at your house goes out, what are you going to do, right? Then you have the backup internet Wi-Fi, right? Most times the internet Wi-Fi is always, or the cell phone, I should say, Wi-Fi, Samsung Galaxy S8, I highly recommend it. So whenever the power goes out, the cell phone towers are powered by backup batteries. So you're always going to have that cell phone. But back in the day, 4G wasn't really, let's say, what it is now. Right now, you can literally trade over mobile networks. It's fast enough. 3G wasn't necessarily that fast. And I'm talking 3G Colombian edition, not 3G American edition. So the markets went crazy, the internet went out, I couldn't contact my broker for some reason, I can't remember why. The hotel phone didn't work and I literally lost, I can't remember the exact figure anymore, but it was literally over $80,000 in a span of 12 minutes. That I do remember, those 12 minutes. Obviously the shock, right? There's kind of those phases of like, holy shit. What am I gonna do? Obviously there are gonna be situations where it is your fault. Other times there are going to be situations where it's not your fault. In this situation, I would say probably 70 to 80% not my fault, but maybe you always have to take ownership. That's one big thing that we have to learn when it comes to trading is no matter what the situation, if we don't take ownership for the actions that we do, we're not going to be successful, right? And I'm sure most of you guys have bought courses or are looking to trade. Even when I first started, I bought, if I remember correctly, an $8,000 course that supposedly drew these automatic support and resistance areas based on Fibonacci levels. And a few years later, I realized you could actually do it on your own. You didn't have to pay somebody to actually have a software to do it for you. And that's with most indicators, right? That you don't need them. But even people just package them, they make them look pretty with some colors, and then they sell them to us for sky high prices. But the point of the story is, even if it's the internet's fault, if we take ownership of the situation, right? And the reason why I kind of went on that little mini rant is because obviously I'm sure a lot of you guys have had the situations where you buy a course, it doesn't work, you buy another course, it doesn't work, you buy another course, it doesn't work, and we're kind of always looking for this Holy Grail indicator or Holy Grail strategy, right? And at the end of the day, what we have to do is really look in the mirror, trade the strategy that we're using as long as we're confident enough that it actually works, right? That's why I always like to highlight our master traders and not necessarily what I've done in the past, because I think that if one person is just doing it, that doesn't really say much. But if we have a group of traders doing it, in an even growing group, shout out to all the master traders, Nikolai, Hitman, I think that kind of proof is in the pudding. But even with the scenario where the internet goes out, or even with the scenario where quote unquote may not necessarily be my fault, you still have to take responsibility for it. So I remember the oil was huge back then. I think it was over $80,000 in 12 minutes. That I do remember. That was a bit hard to get over. There was another one, I believe, in 2014, where if you guys look at a silver chart, the market was literally flying up. The market was coming down, and I was looking for the pop that we actually saw, if I'm not mistaken, looking at my charts here this year, at the beginning of this year. So I kept leveraging, right? So, and this is one bad aspect or negative aspect of futures. I'm a big proponent of trading futures over stocks or Forex or binary options, which is the worst, CFDs. So I really am a proponent of futures, but obviously the downside is that you're not able to trade really long term, that is months or years at a time, because you have to roll over the contracts. I don't want to get into too technical terms, but I remember that I was leveraging in, so the market would come down, I'd buy, then it come down a little bit more, then I'd buy again, then it come down a little bit more, then I'd buy again, and eventually got to the point where the contracts were going to expire, and I needed to either roll over my contracts or just take the hit. And basically what that means when it comes to futures is, there's in this scenario in silver, it normally contract expires every month, so you can trade a future contract. But let's say right now is August. Most of you guys are going to see this video sometime in the next few months. So if I choose a contract for December at the end of the year, once December arrives, I either have to close my position or I have to roll over to the next contract. So that's what happened, and it just got to the point where I was literally deep about $40, $50, $60,000 in the red losses, and I just decided, you know what, I can't continue to keep leveraging myself over and over and over again, and then continue to do it in the new contract. I've been able to obviously to make some of that back with some of the miners that I prefer to play now, some of the miners and stocks for silver mostly, but that's another scenario, right? And that obviously was a scenario where it's important to realize as well that if you're going to be day trading, if you're going to make this a profession, you're going to have a lot of pressure on your plate if you're just going to be day trading. Obviously, you can do it, but just because you're going to become a successful trader doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to become a consistent trader. You know, I've talked to traders over the years, depending obviously on the strategy, it's really, really different. You can make a few $100,000 one year and then the next year be down a few $100,000. So it really depends. That's another reason why I prefer intraday trading, where you every day are able to make that consistent income. Obviously, if you know what you're doing, obviously, you know, you can always lose money as well. But that was my second scenario where I had a huge loss. Another one was actually this year. I let a trader, go in and trade one of my accounts, and it didn't end very pretty. He was up very big during the Trump rally because everybody obviously, and if you guys don't remember, what actually happened was everybody thought that Trump wasn't going to win to the last moment. All of the media, all of the newspapers, everybody around the world detested Trump. Hillary has a 200% chance of winning, and then at the last moment, Trump won. For the record, if you guys go back and watch the videos, I actually thought that Trump was going to win. For the record. I also, Brexit as well. Anyway, so he went short, right? The market went down. He was up huge. And then the market just flew right down and then flew right back up. And it literally was almost a $100,000 loss. So I talk to you guys about these situations because I know that most of the industry is only talking about how much money you can make, but not necessarily how much money you can lose. And even with some of the traders that we have, you know, some of our master traders, Nikolai has lost tens of thousands in the beginning. Jared went bankrupt. You know, he's not married, but he has kids. He had to go and find a job. So if you want to learn how to day trade, if you want to kind of jump into this arena of, you know, living around the world or doing whatever you want, just remember that it comes with a little bit of responsibility. And the upside, obviously, is all those things. You know, I'm a culprit as well, all the trips that I take, and I show you guys all these places around the world. But obviously, the downside is that you have to perform. I still remember a trader, his name was Bryce. You guys probably have seen some of the traders on my travel channel called Wandering Trader on YouTube and the website. I still remember it takes discipline, right? I still remember this like yesterday. We were going out at a carnival. It's like a Rio de Janeiro, but it's in Colombia in February. And it's the biggest festival, I would say, probably in Colombia, right? La Carnaval en Barranquilla. It's probably I'd say maybe third or fourth largest carnival in the world, or in Latin America maybe, one of those two. So we go, you know, we're having a good time, we meet the ladies, obviously it's Colombia, right? And we get home, we're going to sleep at 4, 5, 6 in the morning. I'm not waking up to trade. I'm super lazy. I still remember I did that a few times in Argentina. The schedule was kind of off, but I just, you know, I'm not doing it. He would wake up, literally go to bed at 4 or 5 in the morning, maybe even 7 in the morning, wake up at 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8:45, trade for his 30 minutes, and then finish and then go back to bed. So I don't want you to think, and I don't want you guys to actually assume that just because you buy a course, you're going to start making millions of dollars next week, because that's not necessarily the case. And if you're not careful, or if you don't pay attention, or if you don't improve your own skills like discipline and being patient and doing what you're supposed to, those kind of things, you're going to lose a lot of money. So how do you bounce back from that? I think it comes down a lot to psychology, where even though you've had those losses, you know that you're going to be able to come back from them because you own them, right? Even in my scenario as well, when I first started trading, you know, took out student loans to actually trade with, lost them all. took out more loans. Even if you lose money or you buy a course and they supposedly doesn't work, that's not necessarily their fault, it's our fault, right? Because we didn't do the due diligence of finding the people that should teach us how to trade. You can trade on your own. You don't have to spend $10,000 to actually learn how to trade either, just FYI. But I think it's important to actually talk about this because you can lose a lot of money in this industry, right? Yeah, the benefits are great, but the risks are also as great, because if it wasn't that difficult or it wasn't that hard to do, then everybody would actually be learning how to trade and everybody would be a millionaire trading. So it comes down to being disciplined, right? There's a great book, I forgot where I read this, but it literally says that you're only as good as your last trade. Because just because you make money last month or you made money yesterday doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make money tomorrow or next month or next year. And that's the importance of understanding what this industry is like. And if you guys want to be professional traders, the idea that this isn't something where you just buy a course and then you just, you get a business administration degree in university and then all of a sudden you're just set for life, doing the same things. That's not the way it works. This is more like a soccer profession or a professional athlete, basketball, which is my favorite second sport, or a doctor, for example. There's new medications, there's new treatments, there's new way to handle things. We're learning more and more every year about nutrition. The diabetes and the obesity problem in the United States isn't because of the fat, it's because of the sugar. Everything now is fat-free, but they load on the sugar. So that's how trading is. And we have to learn how to adapt to what the market is going to do. I still remember one time as well, this was probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years, where the exchange where we received the data from literally just changed the way that they reported the exchange. And they're not going to show us how to configure our charts to be able to trade with. And basically, just to give you a simple understanding of how it worked, is when we look at tick charts, we're supposed to see every single transaction. Well, before, every transaction would show up on the tick. So we'd literally see if it was one transaction, it'd show a tick, which is a transaction. If it was 10 transactions at the same time, it'd show 10 ticks differently. What they started doing is grouping the amount of transactions together. So if one person put an order in for, let's say, 10 positions or 100 positions, that would actually only be considered as one tick, one transaction, instead of 100 or instead of 10. And they change it every however many years because they think the other way is better. But the reason why I explain this to you guys is because the exchange isn't going to tell us how to get better. The exchange isn't going to just automatically assume, look, just remember to change this on your charts when we change the data. No, you're on your own, unless obviously you have a trading community, which for me is the importance of having something like the Day Trading Academy. I'm never going to say we're the best or I'm the best trader in the world or I have been or whatever the case may be, because there's a lot of traders out there that are very good, better than me even. So it's important to really understand that. And even though you do have very big losses, you shouldn't take them to heart, because losing is part of the game. But the most important thing when it comes to day trading is obviously making sure that you're going to be consistently profitable. So if you made it this long in the video, make sure that when you are going to learn how to trade, don't focus on making $1 million, because you're not going to make $1 million overnight. And if you think you are, you should definitely not learn how to day trade, because it is going to take you a lot longer than what you think it's going to take. And the focus should not be making money. The focus should actually be being consistent and making the right decisions according to whatever strategy you're using. If you focus on making the right decisions, then what you're going to be able to do is make money consistently, right? You'll lose some days, you maybe lose some weeks, maybe lose a month or two every once in a while. But in the grand scheme of things, if you make the right decision, you're going to make money or see positive results over time in your account. So I hope this has been an interesting video for you guys. I think, on the results page here on the website, I think I've actually shown, a really big win that I did with marijuana stocks when they first came legal. So I think what I'll do is I'll show you guys, the benefits and the downsides, where you can make a lot of money, but you can lose a lot of money as well. And I'll put my statement there, or the statement of one of my traders, to show you guys that, the realities are there. You can change your life with this, but really the question that you have to ask yourself is, what are you willing to sacrifice to really learn how to trade?